everyone, and welcome to another edition of Connecting with Kim. We're so glad that you joined us today here on Tampa Bay Arts and Education Network. And you can also find the audio of my show on Sun Radio 96.3 FM in Sun City Center and on Stream. And that airs Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon. So again, thank you for joining us. And before we start, I always like to thank my sponsor, the Spring of Tampa Bay, for providing my on-air wardrobe. Today, they provided this beautiful bracelet, my jacket, the beautiful butterfly pins, and the skirt. The rest of it is mine. Sometimes I have to supplement. But if you have not been to the Spring Boutique at the corner of Swann and Henderson, you will want to go. They have great things, and all the net proceeds from the sales of the clothing, jewelry, shoes, everything you can imagine there goes to support their mission. And I never want to make a mistake here, so I always refer to my notes. They have been in business since 1977. They provide sanctuary and services to since 1977, more than 50,000 abused adults and their children, so survivors of domestic violence. They are the largest of 42 certified domestic violence shelters in the state of Florida, and they are the first to have accredited school on site. And they are a worthwhile, wonderful organization, and I want you to support them. They have 2 stores, the Spring Boutique, and they have the thrift store on North Willow. So again, thank you to my sponsor. So let me introduce my guest today. I'm so excited to have her on the show. It's the first time she's been on Connecting with Kim, so I'm terribly excited about it. And my guest in the chair today is Kimberly Overman, who is the chair of the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners. She's also the representative for District 7, which is a county-wide district, and she was elected to this board in 2018. So Kimberly, welcome to Connecting with Kim.
Thank you. I feel very much at home. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Oh, it was my pleasure, and I love that you feel at home, because that's what we always strive for here, is making everybody feel comfortable to come on Connecting with Kim and have a conversation with us. So anyone who knows my show knows that I always start the top of the show with allowing my guests to talk about their journey in life thus far. And you can share as much or as little as you like, and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you. I have had an interesting journey getting here. I moved 19 times before I graduated from high school.
Wow.
I lived, although Florida is definitely my home, Hillsborough County is my home now. However, I was born in New York. I lived in Texas, Arkansas, Maryland, Virginia, Louisiana.
Was your father or someone in your family in the service, and that's why you're moving all the time, or?
Well, it was a public service.
Public service.
Public service, rather than being in the military. My father was a speechwriter and worked as a legislative aide to a congressman that he helped get elected.
Cool.
So we moved around. We worked with various different candidates or politicians or leaders in our community to help them be successful and do their job and communicate what it was that they were trying to do.
So you've had a long association with the political arena.
I've understood the wonderfulness and the service and the challenges most of my life. But, you know, I've really, truly enjoyed it. Growing up in the D.C. area was interesting. It's a very international town. And I was very hesitant at first to come to Florida. However, since I've gotten here, I've fallen in love with the place.
So what brought you to Florida? Business or personal?
My husband,
got
a job opportunity.
Okay.
And I was working in the financial services industry. I am a certified financial planner and have a degree in agricultural economics that I got from the University of Maryland. And so pretty much I could work anywhere that there was clients or individuals that were looking to understand how to manage their finances. And that's what I did for 30-something years before I joined the Board of County Commission.
So agriculture, I'm an econ major from Northwestern, so agricultural economics, that is the degree, right?
Correct.
And so just enlighten me a little bit about what that entails, because it would seem to me the jump from agricultural economics to certified financial planner, it might not be, apparent to everybody how that would happen.
Well, I went into agricultural economics because I found and I'll age myself here, in the late 70s, early 80s, when interest rates were so high, it made it very difficult for farmers to be able to continue farming. They were losing their farms left and right to large corporate farmers as a consequence, or agricultural entities, as a consequence of the taxes associated with transferring it from one generation to another. And I discovered that the economics of the agricultural industry was largely supply and demand. It was great, except for it was causing a great deal of disruption in the business of agriculture. I was fascinated with that. I saw that when I lived in Arkansas, Virginia, and in Maryland, and I thought, well, I want to do something about that. So I went there. The challenge is about 35 PhDs in economics got laid off in Washington, D.C. the year I graduated from with a Bachelor of Science in economics. So the opportunity I found working with a financial services firm that had a commodities limited partnership helped me open the door towards financial services, and then I ultimately pursued the Certified Financial Planner designation.
Good for you. Okay. So you, that's so fascinating. And all those different places you've lived. I've moved around a lot too in my adult life, not when I was growing up, but and I lived internationally and I've enjoyed all those experiences, but you've lived a lot of interesting places. So now you're in Florida, in Tampa Bay, and you're still working in the financial planning industry, right? Okay. So how did you become, how did you get elected to the Board of County Commissioners? What made you decide to do that?
Well, I raised my family here. I have 2 sons, I have 4 grandchildren right now, and it's a place that I love, but I also recognized it had growing pains, which is part of why we came here. We recognized an opportunity to grow businesses and to grow the community. Moving from an urban area to another urban area that wasn't as developed has helped me recognize knowing what things can be and knowing how fast a community can grow, as the Washington, D.C. area did as I was growing up. I recognized there was going to be some challenging, and it would need some leadership in order to be able to get us where we need to go, to make sure that families have the ability to take care of themselves, to make sure businesses have an opportunity to thrive and grow, but also to make sure we take care of our environment and we grow in a great way that people can get where they need to go. So I started getting involved in that when I first moved to Florida. Early on in the 80s, I got here in 84. I started working with the Business and Professional Roundtable. I got involved with the City of Tampa's various different citizens advisory groups. I served as a member of the Housing Finance Authority, where I understood the value of making sure that financing was available for first-time home buyers. And a lot of those gave me opportunities to meet those individuals that were in leadership, to partner with them on getting good things done. But eventually I realized I was not going to be able to get a lot of things that I would like to see done working in partnership. I needed to be in the leadership. So that's why I decided to run in 18.
Okay, so you were the vice chair, I know, of the Board of County Commissioners for a couple of years, and now you're the chair. So let's just spend I would like to ask you, since you transitioned from advisory to actually leadership and having responsibility for those decisions, what have you found to be what are the 3 best things you've learned from that time since 2018?
Right. Well, it's really interesting. When you're running for office, you are convincing everyone you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's a marathon, right? I mean,
it is. It is a constant, which I'm doing again. I'm running for re-election in November. And it's very different. You talk about all the things you want to see done. But when you get the job, you get an opportunity to govern. You have to really think about everyone. You have to look for opportunities and invest wisely. You have to be a good steward of taxpayers' monies. But you also have to recognize there's other elements that you didn't think about, maybe. Safety, making sure people can get where they need to go in a hurricane, or in our case, a pandemic. I didn't plan to manage a pandemic when I ran in 18.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think anybody did.
No, and it certainly hijacked a lot of the things that we had planned and I had planned on doing.
Well, we kind of lost 2 years, basically.
We basically did. But, we've learned a lot through that process. We've recognized, the importance of public health. We've recognized the importance of our investing in our schools and our teachers and making sure that they have the tools to be able to teach. We've recognized the difficulties associated with transportation, but we also recognize what it's nice, how easy it is to get around when there's not as many cars on the road.
Right.
So there were a lot of things that we learned in this process.
And the value of Zoom, right?
Yes, exactly.
We've all learned the value of Zoom.
We'd always talked about, people ought to be able to work from home. There's lots of opportunity and flexibility for families and workforce to be able to have that flex time. Well, we had to rapidly roll out not only internet and broadband services, but technology in such a way that I think it probably would have taken us a lot longer to do in all of our business models. And some businesses have stayed in a hybrid method, as we have with our county commission, and we found that that allows more people to participate in government than we had before, when everybody had to come downtown to the boardroom. So there have been some silver linings through this process.
There always is, isn't there? I always say that no matter how bad the situation is, something good will come out of it.
Right.
You may not be able to recognize it at the time, but it will come.
And I'm really glad that we're on the other side of it to some degree.
Some degree.
COVID's still an issue.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people are still getting sick. Having your employees out is still a real challenge for many businesses, as well as it is for the county. But we're doing really well, and with how well our teams have done, how well the major events that we've had that have literally put us on a global platform, the people moving here are moving here faster than we anticipated.
Oh my gosh.
So the issues that I've been working on, and I've started out working on, but I continue to work on, the issues associated with adequate housing, workforce housing, and affordable housing for our workforce, our working low-income individuals that are typically working 1 or 2 jobs. They still need to be able to have a place to live and take care of their families and not run the risk of losing their children.
Well, success is always a double-edged sword, isn't it? You want the success, you strive for the success, and the recognition and the folks desiring to live in your community and be part of your community. The other side of that is that, well, there will be housing issues, there will be transportation issues, there will be infrastructure issues, especially if the growth comes in an explosive manner and you weren't prepared.
Exactly. We anticipated growth. Just given the demographics of our country,
right.
Many retirees will move to Florida. We were considered a tax-friendly state. We still are in many ways. We don't have an income tax where many states do. But we still have to provide the services when all those folks get here. And so we anticipated having many people move here. What we didn't anticipate is the literally onslaught of folks that have come here.
Well, especially since the pandemic.
Right. And when you live in a paradise and you have outdoor areas where you can enjoy all the time, outdoor sports and entertainment, you can sit on your back porch for Christmas dinner. Those are all things that has now become very attractive as we're post-COVID. And so we've found that the number of people moving here well exceeded what we anticipated. We were, prior to the pandemic, about 54,000 units shy for people that had needing a place to live that was affordable if they were only spending about 30% of their take-home towards housing. Well, that number has skyrocketed. And because of COVID, as well as a long history of not really building in an adequate way.
The infrastructure.
Right. We find ourselves really shy of inventory for the people that are moving here. And that's making it, even for our middle income wage earners and workers, making it very difficult for them to be able to afford the rents if they don't already own the home.
Well, I live in South County, and I can tell you, we have experienced the explosive growth because really, when you looked at it, there was no other place to grow but South County and East County. That's where the land is available. And many of the developments that we see being built in South County right now and in East County were approved years and years ago. And, it's not like they just waltzed into the Planning Commission and the BOCC and said, hey, I want to throw up a housing development. No, that was all done years and years ago. And it's hard to make people understand that what didn't happen was that even though that growth was on the books, the infrastructure was not planned for. And so therefore, it's a daily lament in my neck of the woods.
Oh, absolutely. It is a real problem. When I got elected, I was like, how is it that we can actually have 2 houses per acre and call that rural? but those were entitlements that were given many, like 20 or more years ago.
Right.
So the people that live there now that are seeing explosive growth without the infrastructure revenues to pay for the infrastructure, what my previous colleagues did not do is they didn't increase the cost calculations for how to build those roads and how to build that network and how to build an internet network so that people could get around in their community without having to always get in their car. That is problematic because now we have a huge deficit in transportation dollars to build the infrastructures necessary for those communities. But we've been working on fixing that. The voters voted for transportation in 2018. Unfortunately, that got struck down by the Supreme Court. That was a citizen-led referendum. Unfortunately, it had a language flaw in it.
Yeah.
But the plan itself was solid. So investing in roads, in sidewalks, in safety, in trails, in transit, in all of those things, and making sure that we had the planning dollars to do so was a solid plan.
And now there's that $500 million sitting there, which everybody would like to know. What's going to happen with that?
Right. Well, the good news is we have some good news. In the first part of July, Judge Barbas actually ruled on having those monies be collected from the various different recipients back to the clerk and sent to the Department of Revenue at the state. And the state is then going to put it in a Hillsborough Transportation Trust Fund. And the Florida Legislative Budget Committee will propose a plan on how to spend those monies in Hillsborough. So they're going to come back. And
Yay.
That's the good news.
That is very good news. If you're just joining me now and connecting with Kim, my guest in the chair is Kimberly Overman, who is the chair of the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners. She's also the District 7, which is a countywide district representative, and she has been in this position since 2018. And so we were just talking about how the $500 million collected from the referendum in 2018 will now be coming back to Hillsborough County for dispersal. So that's good news.
That's great news.
Yeah, because everybody's saying, okay, that $500 million has been sitting there for quite a while now.
Yep, and unfortunately the liability that we have and the deficit that we have didn't go away either.
Right.
So we still have an opportunity to invest that in transportation, but it's only 2 years worth of revenue. And we have about 20 years worth of revenue costs that we haven't planned for.
Right.
So what the Board of County Commission decided to do is pretty much keep the same plan. It wasn't, that plan was modeled very similar to our long-range transportation plan. So we're keeping the spending plan very similar to what the original was. However, we don't have the flaws in it that ended up having it struck down. And so this way, the Board of County Commissioners will be making an assessment of how our needs need to be met, and we'll periodically review it, as we do every year, our transportation plan, and make sure that we're investing it in such a way that it meets the needs of Hillsborough County residents, so that we're acting responsibly with those tax dollars.
So let's be clear, everyone. So the referendum that was on the 2018 ballot and passed, and then was struck down by the Supreme Court for, I like to call it procedural issues, but in other words, that same transportation referendum will appear on the ballot in November again here in 2022 for you to have another chance to vote on whether or not you want to support that. Now, let's I know you have other areas that you are really interested in, and this is one that is near and dear to my heart too, because I see so many people daily affected by this. So again, double-edged sword. People want to come to Florida. They've heard all about Tampa Bay. They want to come to Tampa Bay, and they're moving in droves. And now the price of real estate. I mean, the last 2 years, I mean, it's been like, it's been a roller coaster, but one that's just been going straight up.
Right.
And we only see in South County now a little leveling out and a little slowing down in my neighborhood. But, I'm hearing every day sad stories of people their rents being increased to the point where they can't afford it anymore. They're being evicted because landlord wants to sell the property. I mean, this is really an issue.
It's a crisis. I am the chair of the Affordable Housing Advisory Board, so I live and breathe this every day.
I bet you do.
And so there have been many things that we are doing to address it. but it's not going to solve the problem overnight.
No.
I actually helped bring a tenant bill of rights to tenants so that they have some legal protections in their rights and making sure they're not taken advantage of by their landlord when it comes to whether or not they have safe housing, they have to have enough notice, they're not discriminated against when it comes to where their monies come from. So if they have they're low income and they're eligible for housing assistance, the landlord can't just say, I'm not going to rent to those folks. And because that's just plain old discrimination. Wrong. It shouldn't happen.
It's just wrong.
So we got that passed, and the City of Tampa adopted it as well. So I'm very proud of the fact that we've been doing what we can to try and protect tenants' rights, and more is coming. We're also changing our land use. We're actually opening up where communities have to be connected. We're actually proposing increasing the densities in the urban areas so we're not sprawling all over the place. And we're protecting those open areas that are so important, as well as our agricultural lands, because that's a very important part of our communities.
Well, it's one of the reasons traditionally and historically people have moved to states like Florida, because we have so many natural wonders to enjoy.
Right.
And we don't want those to go away.
Yeah, and once you put a house on it, it's never going to be
gone.
the same, right?
Yeah.
So we are changing the way our land use is working. We're changing where our comprehensive planning is going. We are evaluating where all our roads are to determine how to protect certain areas for corridors and important corridors. We're adopting safety measures for making sure that our roads are more safe, investing in intersection improvements. But again, without the surtax, we're not going to be able to do a lot of those things. So it is critical that voters, when they voted for it in 18, that need didn't go away, and we need them to show up in November to make sure that we have the ability to make those improvements and to address all the people that are moving here.
Well, and again, you know, the other thing that goes hand in hand with people wanting to move here is gentrification of neighborhoods in Tampa, in particular, and surrounding areas. And this is also a huge issue because now there's, you know, the landlords look around and the property owners look around. They go, well, with some investment, I can now, you know, either sell this or rent this for double or triple what I was getting before.
Yeah, rents are up about 30-something%. Property values are as well.
Yep.
And that'll help our tax base, but it doesn't solve the need for housing. So one of the things we are doing, we have about 39 projects in the queue right now for additional housing. We also have our community development block grant dollars to assist homeowners that are getting to a place where they just don't have either the resources to stabilize their home, to be able to make those repairs in order to keep them in their home. I mean, maybe it's a air conditioner or a roof or things like that that just don't have those dollars. The Hillsborough County has supplemental dollars for families in order to help them stay in their home and not sell their home and then be renters and be so subject to the rental increases that unfortunately the Florida state statute does not allow us to restrict rental income. That's a real problem.
But having access to these dollars, I think is important because the other thing that has come as a result of all of this attractiveness of Florida is that everything the price of a roof is up. The price of anything you want to do around your house is up. And part of that is also due to the terrible inflation that we've all been experiencing. But I can't believe what they're getting for a roof now, even if it's a shingle roof.
You know, unfortunately, we forget that inflation ebbs and flows. The good news is it ebbs and flows.
Well, we're looking for the ebb part now.
Yeah, we are definitely looking for the ebb part. However, given demographics, Florida's not going to pull back like the rest of the country is going to.
No.
You know, or anywhere in the southeast region where the migration is. So we will still struggle with higher costs. The good news is we're also attracting many, many more higher paying jobs.
Yes.
And I'm working very closely with our county resources, our nonprofits, our community churches, our local organizations to develop a connectivity to make sure that we can help those communities survive. When grandma has her rent increased to a level she can't afford it anymore,
right,
and then she has to move out of the neighborhood, what we lose is that community.
Mm-hmm.
What we lose is that that daycare provider. You know, when the children to come home from school and mom or dad is out working, we lose that grandma available to help with the high cost of childcare.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, what we can do is really reinvest in those existing communities and do what we can to stabilize them as much as possible. But to do that, we also have to have density. We have to fill in those gaps where the infrastructure is already there, where the water, the sewer, the stormwater, and the trash services are all there, and then have an opportunity to create more housing units to lower the pressure on the increase in prices, whether you're renting or whether you're able to buy a home.
Well, we are just about out of time. I know. It goes really fast when you start. And so we only have about a couple minutes left, so I want to make sure that you share with our listening and our watching audience any message that you want to deliver to them at this time, so that before we sign off.
Thank you. And thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I'm so thrilled. It's, like I said, it's your first time. I hope you come back again.
Oh, I would love to. I'd love to. Because I want to make sure the residents know all the things that we're working on. And we are. We're working on enormous projects. We're working on land use, we're working on housing, we're working on transportation, we're working on all the social services that are necessary to have a healthy community. We're working on public health things. All of those things are so wonderful. A lot of that work got hijacked by COVID. So I'm really looking forward to another 4 years to get a lot of those projects that I started on, continued moving them forward. And I am so proud of much of the work that this board has done, because we really have moved the needle towards making sure our residents are able to be heard and make sure that their needs are being addressed, and doing it as fairly as we can.
Well, thank you so much, Kimberly, for being my guest. My guest today on Connecting with Kim is Kimberly Overman, who is the Board of County Commissioners for Hillsborough County Chairman, and also the representative for District 7, which is a countywide district. And she has been my guest, and we've had a great time, and thank you so much. Hope we come back. And I want to thank once again for all of you for joining me today on this episode. Come back again. Next week we'll have another exciting episode for you to watch. And I want to thank again my sponsor, the Spring of Tampa Bay, for providing my on-air wardrobe, which I really appreciate. They always do a great job. And you can go to their store at Swann and Henderson, the Spring Boutique, and you can find the clothes that I wear on air and the jewelry too. So thanks again. Come back next week, and thanks for joining us so long. Take care and enjoy living in our little corner of paradise, because that's what it's all about.